Welcome to VTeach. In this video, we'll discuss about problem solving with top-down design approach and what do you mean by recursive function and examples of recursive functions. What do you mean by problem solving and what do you mean by top-down design? Problem solving. Whenever a task is given for us, the way you are writing a solution for that problem or a task is known as problem solving. There are different ways of writing solutions for a task that is given. One of that is top-down design. In top-down design approach, what happens we'll discuss now. In top-down design approach, which is also called as stepwise refinement, which is an essential tool for developing well-structured program. For writing a good structured program, we use this top-down design. This approach is a problem-solving technique that systematically breaks a complicated problem into smaller, more manageable pieces. So according to this top-down design approach, what we are going to do is we are going to systematically divide the complicated program into smaller chunks, and each and every chunk is again further divided until we cannot further divide. This process keeps on continuous. If any of these subproblems is not easier to solve, if the subdivided problem is not easier to solve, we further divide the subproblem into smaller parts. Means we have a problem which is subdivided into two subproblems. Now we check whether this subproblem can be solved easily or not. If this is easily solvable, it's fine. Otherwise, we subdivide this divided module again into two modules. So this is how we do in top-down design approach. We repeat the subdividing until all the small parts are not divisible. Means we cannot further divide. We stop the division. Until that, we keep on dividing the submodules into submodules again and again. Then we can use a few lines of code to solve every trivial problems. So what happens here is when we use this top-down design approach, since the last step is going to have a module which cannot be further divided, we can write few lines of code to write a solution for even a complex problem also. In the end, we put all these little pieces together as a solution to get the original problem. After writing the simple solutions for last step modules, we combine them all these instructions to frame the solution for the entire top problem that we have. This approach makes it easy to think about the problem, code the solution, read the code and identify the bugs. So by using this approach, what happens is we can think about a problem easily, we can code the solution easily, we can write the code for the task that is given for us, we can read the code easily, and we can easily identify the errors if there are any also. I'll see a small example. If a task was given to you to design a calculator program, a calculator program contains different operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modular division, float division, power. So all these 7 functions will be collectively called as a calculator. So this calculator is the top problem that we have. So now what we are going to do is we are going to subdivide into two parts. First part as addition, second part as subtraction, third part multiplication, fourth part as division. Like that we divide into modules. And we write solution for addition module, we write solution for subtraction, we write solution for multiplication, we write solution for division. Since we cannot further again divide this addition into subparts, we stop at this process. Now what we do is we combine all the instructions that we have written for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division collectively and make it as a solution for the top problem that we have, that is calculate. So due to this, what happens is we can read the code that is present in the addition part easily. Even if there are any errors in this addition part, we can easily rectify them, since we are treating this as an independent part. And when we go to subtraction, it can also be easily identified, studied, as well as coded, as well as we can identify the bugs in it. So in this way, we are going to subdivide a task into submodules, and then we are going to apply the same approach until a module cannot be further divided. So let's see what are the steps that are present in this top-down design approach. If we see a flowchart for this, on the top we have a root which is divided into 3 parts in level 1. In level 1, what has happened is the first module cannot be further divided, but the second module which was divided from the root can be further divided into other level into 2 different tasks, and then the third module is also further divided into 1 module. So in level 2, the first part of second module can be easily coded, but the second part cannot be coded. That's how we have again subdivided into one more part part at level 3. So now what we do is we write steps for solution for this level 3 and then solution for this level 2 parts and then solution for level 1 parts, and then we combine all these things to write a solution for the root. Now let's see what are the steps involved here. Start with the initial problem statement that was given for you and then define subtask at the first level. According to the main task, divide your subtask in the first level. Divide subtask at higher level into more specific tasks. You can further divide your higher level task in the first level into specific tasks also. Now repeat the steps 3 until each block is trivial, means each subtask is trivial, which means that which cannot be further divided. We can divide the step 3 again and again. We can apply the steps 3 again and again so that your subtask will be again further divided so that we get a specific task at the final. Refine the algorithm into real code. So what we do is for each and every subtask that was divided at the last level, we need to write an algorithm. After writing an algorithm, design the code for that algorithm that we have written. This is how we work out in top-down design approach. In the top-down design approach, we consider a root level problem statement and then we define a subtask in the level 1, and then if the subtask can be easily coded, it's fine. Otherwise, we divide the subtask into n number of subtasks again at next level, which is again verified whether we can code this subtask 1 to n directly or not, or otherwise we subdivide the subtasks which are already divided in level 2 into level 3. So this process continues until a subtask can be easily coded. So that what happens is we can easily write algorithm for the subtask and then write the code for the subtask and then combine all the code that we have written for subtasks and then make it as a solution for the root level problem statement that was taken. This is the approach that is followed in top-down design solution. Next, design with recursive functions. What do you mean by recursive function? We need to know what is recursion and then we need to know what is a recursive function. Python accepts function recursion. What do you mean by function recursion? The process in which a function calls itself is known as recursion. The process in which a function calls itself is called recursion. The function which uses recursion is called as a recursive function. The process is known as recursion and the function which applies this recursion or which uses recursion is known as a recursive function. So what is the advantage of using this recursive function is a complicated function can be split into smaller subproblems using recursion. So what happens when we use recursion is a complicated problem can be written or splitted into small subproblems and we can work on these subproblems easily when we use this recursion. So the process of a function calling itself is known as recursion and the function which uses recursion is known as a recursive function. An example for recursive function is def, which is used to define a function. The function name that we are defining is func name, and inside this function we are calling the same function. So here a function call itself for number of times. So this is known as recursion and func name is known as a recursive function. Let's see an example program for finding factorial of a given number using recursion. So we are taking an input from the user n is equal to int of enter a number and then I am writing a print statement factorial is fact of n. Let us suppose that I have taken n is equal to 4 as the input. According to our knowledge, the output should be factorial. Factorial of 4 is 24 should be printed. Let's check whether 24 will be printed on the screen or not. Now, fact of n, that is 4, will be called fact of 4. So from here the control transfer to this statement where x becomes 4. Now it checks whether 4 double equal to 1 or not. Is 4 double equal to 1? No. So then what's get written is written x into 4 into fact of 3. 4 into fact of 3 will be written into this print statement. So this fact of 3 is not a value, it's a function. So what happens here is again fact of 3 gets called. Now when fact of 3 gets called, x is 3. 3 double equal to 1 is false. So if it is false, it returns a statement written 3 into fact of 3 minus 1, that is 2. Again this fact of 2 is a function, it's not a value. Fact of 2 gets called. Fact of 2, x is equal to 2. 2 double equal to 1 is false. In this case we are writing written 2 into fact of 1. Now again fact of 1 is a function, it's not a value. When I call fact of 1, x becomes 1. 1 double equal to 1. When 1 double equal to 1, we are asking to return 1. So return 1 is the result of fact of 1, which is equal to 1. So from here the value of 1 will be returned and we get 2 into 1, that is 2. So who has called fact 2 is fact 3 have called fact 2. So this result 2 is sent from this statement to the statement, which is 3 into 2, that is 6. Who has called fact 3 is fact 4 have called fact 3. That's why this 6 is sent from fact 3 to 4 into fact 3. That becomes 4 into 6, that is 24. So it's going to return 24 as the answer and prints factorial is 24. This is how factorial of a given number can be calculated using recursion. Let's see how to print Fibonacci series using recursion. So Fibonacci sequence here, according to Fibonacci sequence, what happens is the first number or first digit in the Fibonacci sequence is 0 and the second digit is 1. This is the default. And the next numbers are calculated by adding the previous two terms in the sequence. The first term in the sequence is 0, the second term in the sequence is 1, and the next terms are obtained by adding previous two terms. When I add these two numbers, I will get 1. When I add these two numbers, I will get the next number. When I add 1 and 2, I get 3. 2 and 3, we get 5. 3 and 5, 8. So in this process, I can get any number of values in the Fibonacci sequence. So let's see the program for this. Print Fibonacci series is, I am writing a for statement to print the values present in the Fibonacci sequence with range function, range of 1 comma 5. In range of 1 comma 5, it's going to call the values 1, 2, 3 and 4. Means it's going to print the values present in the sequence, first term, second term, third term and fourth term present in the sequence. Print fib of I. Every time I value gets changed. Initially, it calls with fib of 1. When fib of 1 is called, here n double equal to 1. If n double equal to 1, 1 double equal to 1 is true. So it returns 0. So 0 gets printed. Next, the range function is going to give 2, where it's going to call fib of 2. When fib of 2 is called, if n double equal to 1, 2 double equal to 1 is false. And if n double equal to 2, 2 double equal to 2 is true. So it returns 1. So the next term is 1. Next one is I becomes 3. So fib of 3 gets called. When fib of 3 is called, it's going to verify the condition. 3 double equal to 1 is false. 3 double equal to 2 is again false. Return fib of n minus 1, that is 3 minus 1, 2 plus fib of n minus 2, that is 1. So it's going to find again fib of 2 and fib of 1. So we already know what is fib of 1 and fib of 2. That is fib of 2 is 1 and fib of 1 is 0. So it's going to print 1 as the next number. Next time fib of 4 gets called, which is going to call fib of 3 plus fib of 2. So again these two are functions but not values. So this again calls the functions which prints the value 2. Let's see the program executions for that. The program that we have stored is recursive fact. So Python space recursive fact.py. I'm asking to enter a number and I give 4. So the factorial is 24. And the second one is Python space recursive fib.py, where it has printed the numbers 0, 1, 1, 2, which are the first 4 terms in the sequence that we have discussed. This is about recursion. Thank you.